All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Moneyline MMA's edition of Noche UFCs. We're going to have, of course, our 5 picks, starting with our locks of the week going on. We love Jose repping over here. This guy's got his flag ready to go. That's amazing. This is basically the September version of the pay-per-view for the UFC, as there's no official pay-per-view numbered card, and therefore we're actually not seeing a championship fight on this card. But this is, as I understand, the UFC's replacement. We got 2 pay-per-views earlier in 1 month, earlier in the year. That's going to be offset by no pay-per-views in September. Our next pay-per-view comes in the first Saturday of October, actually. But before we get too far into things for Noche UFC, we have to, of course, recap what happened last Saturday in Paris, France. And boy, I continue my hot streak, man. Every time I come on the show lately, it's been amazing. Huge smile on my face. The only fight I didn't get right was a fight that didn't happen because Pitbull was on weight. He was my lock of the week. He was on weight and ready to go, and his opponent could not make weight. How disappointing. How disappointing, but like how much of a letdown, how much like of a bomb, dude. You finally get your UFC shot, and you follow it up by missing weight in your first fight. That's pretty rough. That's pretty rough. The UFC has some decisions to make. I mean, you probably don't drop him right then and there, but you gotta somehow get it through his noggin that it's not okay to miss weight, especially on your debut. But 4-0 otherwise on the card. My lock of the week replacement, since the 5 weight did not occur, and I agree with Patricio Pitbull, by the way, on not taking that fight. Kaito was like 6 pounds overweight. That's crazy. You know, at that point, you got your money for getting on weight and showing up. Just leave it. Just call it a day there. And that's what Pitbull said. He's like, I'm fighting for legacy. Like, I don't need the extra money from your purse to fight. I just need a legacy. So props to Pitbull, but lo and behold, my replacement lock of the week, which would have been my 4 weight then, Nasruddin Imavov, pretty much slices and dices. Imavov looked really good against Kaio and got the decision win there. It was unanimous. Now, some people may have arguments this way or that way. You know, in the end, I think it was unanimous. I think it was 49-46. You know, some people might say 48-47. I'm more on the 49-46 boat. But of course, that's partially because I picked him. But yeah, Imavov looked really good. And Kaio also looked pretty good, just not good enough, essentially. I love my Benoit Saint Denis pick against Mauricio Rufy. Got the job done in the second round. Talk about a guy on his second UFC stint, Modestas Bukauskas, getting a second round finish as well. Actually, that was the end of the first round. Right at the end of the first round, he gets that finish. And last but surely not least, Mason Jones finishing Balaji Oki. So let me just know here, not only did I get these picks right, but they were finishes. And let's look back for a second here. Mauricio Rufy was a huge underdog, or a huge favorite. BSD was the huge underdog. And Imavov was also an underdog. All you had to do was take my I did have a 1 weight on BSD, but if you took my 1 and 4 weights last week, you would have had like a plus 500 bet. I mean, and they both smacked it home. So I'm just saying, you got to ride with us here. We're making winning picks here, and I've just been on a pretty hot streak lately. So I'll make sure to continue that for our picks. Noche UFC this Saturday. Pretty much stated everything that needs to be stated going into our picks here. Noche UFC will be taking place in the Frostbank Center at San Antonio, Texas. So we're finally getting somewhat of a normal time. I mean, it's still not technically your prime time Saturday night, but you know, the last fight, the Paris last weekend, was like 11 a.m. prelims, so it still wasn't too bad. But this Saturday it'll be 2 p.m. prelims, so it should be around a 5 p.m. main card start time. That's going to be a lot more reasonable for us U.S. audiences. But without further ado, for anyone new, we make our picks here separately of each other, Jose and I, and we just confer before the show here to discuss our order, because we always do our locks of the week first, aka our 5 weights, and we go down to 1 weight, which is our least confident pick of Saturday afternoon. So without further ado, my lock of the week for Saturday afternoon, I'm going to be taking us straight into the co-main event. Let's go right into the action of Rob Font versus David Martinez, a UFC bantamweight bout in which we really have kind of a veteran versus somewhat of a newcomer, or at least someone with considerably less experience. David Martinez, 13 professional MMA bouts. Rob Font, 30. So not only does Rob Font over double this man in professional bouts, but I believe Rob Font is going to dice this guy up on the feet. David Martinez's advantage is obviously been his 10 KOs of his 12 professional wins. He's won 2 fights by decision, and the only way he's ever lost was by decision. I predict that Rob Font's going to get this job done by decision. 15-minute. I'm pretty confident. You might as well take the over no matter what. I don't think either of these guys are going to land a finish. I guess there's a chance, if someone was going to get a finish, it would have to be Martinez. Because there's no way he's standing there for 15 minutes outboxing and outpointing Rob Font. There's just no way. This is one of those matchups to me where David Martinez is being fed to the Wolves way too fast. He has very little relative experience, if you ask me. And when you're talking taking a step up from Xavier Franklin in your Dana White Contender Series bout, and then your UFC debut against Simon Oliveira, you get a first round finish, and now you're fighting Rob Font. I just don't think that equates. I think Rob Font gets the job done via decision, as I've already stated, and honestly, that's pretty much the bulk of it. Rob Font's going to dice him up on the feet. This fight will not go to the ground unless someone lands a knockdown. So that said, Rob Font's going to get the job done. I'm very, very confident. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, Nick. So I 100% agree with you on this one. I got Rob Font as well. And David Martinez, we know, like he's mentioned, he's a last minute replacement, and he's just being fed to the wolves right off the bat. And the reason why I have Rob Font, though, he's my number one, I will say, is just because they, even though Rob Font was already preparing to have a fight, to fight UFC Noche, David Martinez as well. He himself, this is a last minute, obviously, for both. So David Martinez is obviously going to come in and try to make a statement. As you mentioned, he's going to probably be looking for that finish. Out of his 12 wins, he's got 10 KOs, has TKOs. So I can only imagine, like, he's going to try to come in and make a big statement. And Rob Font, he's got phenomenal boxing. So I think overall, as long as this fight is on the feet, I think it's going to be Rob Font all day. Rob Font himself, just he has way more experience. And out of his 22 wins, he's got 9 KOs, 4 submissions, and 9 decisions. So if he doesn't finish David Martinez, I think he's just going to completely outbox him and win unanimous decision. But I just think this is also a last minute thing for him. He didn't prepare as much for David Martinez. So, David Martinez could come in and completely just, pull all gas, no brakes. He's not an easy guy to put out himself. And as you mentioned, granted that he's not faced the same level of competition as Rob Font, but there's still a lot of question marks about David Martinez that we'll find out depending how he does against Rob Font. So kind of like Joshua Van, these guys come up and then they make a big statement against some dudes that are title contenders. I'm not saying that Rob Font is a title contender, but he's not far. He hasn't hung out outside the top five. He's been outside the top 5 and just lingering around there for most of his career. So a ranked fighter, and we'll find out what David Martinez is made of. But until then, just because it's more of a last minute thing for Rob Font as well, that's why he is my one weight. I do have confidence that he should completely outclass David Martinez in the boxing. I don't know if he'll finish him, but and one more thing too, I'm actually going to rep this one more time, just throw it up because I realized it froze on the stream and also my background blurs it. So I wanted to show some respect for UFC Noche. But that being said, I got Rob Font as my one weight.
Love it, man. So you're just a little less confident given the nature of a switched opponent, kind of last minute, which is fair. And I think for me, I don't put as much credence to that because Rob Font's never been finished inside the distance via KO or TKO. It's only ever been by one submission loss. So for me, it's going to take more than a young kid coming in there and swinging for the fences to finish Rob Font, but you honestly never know. It's the nature of it being a 1-versus-1 sport. It's anything can really happen. But to me, especially when we're talking value odds, I don't think I mentioned earlier, but looking at this fight, Rob Font is a minus 158 favorite, and David Martinez plus 124. So I don't know. In my opinion, you're not giving enough respect to the veteran Rob Font there. I think I always still look back to the fact that Corey Sandhagen, kind of got dusted. Corey Sandhagen dusted him, and what Corey Sandhagen did, a guy that's known for boxing, a guy that's known for his stand-up game, wrestled him the whole time because he didn't even want to bother messing with his stand-up game. So I just believe Rob Font is going to get the job done pretty easily.
Yeah, and that one, one last thing on that too. Yeah, I totally agree. Rob Font, he's beaten some big names too. But it's been a minute, but he's beaten some big names: Cody Garbrandt, Marlon Morales, Ricky Simone, Sergio Pettis. He was on a 4-fight kill streak back in the day, and that's guy we've been lingering in the top 5, in the top 10, and eventually top 5 as well for so long in his UFC career. So Yeah, this is one we both agree on. Maybe he should have been higher. At least I should have moved him up a couple spaces, a couple spots, I should say, for sure. But for now, yeah, I'm rolling with Rob Font as my one weight. But it's I feel better about it, and obviously him being your five weight. So this is one we definitely both agree on. Again, the only thing holding me back was the last minute thing. But as you mentioned, probably won't be any issue whatsoever for Rob Font.
Boom.
And that being said, for sure, that moves over to my five weight. And this brings us actually down to the prelims, and this is the women's strawweight bout between number two Tatiana Suarez versus number four Amanda Lemos. Right now, Amanda Lemos is the betting underdog at plus 320, while Tatiana Suarez is a betting favorite at minus 460. And for this one, I think I'm going with Tatiana Suarez as my five weight strong favorite for sure. And the reason is just I think her wrestling is going to completely dominate the whole. It's the story of almost all her fights. I think it's just going to be her wrestling that's going to completely dominate the whole match. Of course, we know she's coming off that loss earlier this year to Weili Zhang, but it's Weili Zhang, and now Weili Zhang is going to move up to fight Valentina Shevchenko as well. So Weili Zhang is almost on another whole level on herself. And that being said, like Tatiana Suarez leading up to that title fight, we've seen her be not as active as she could have been, just dealing with multiple injuries. But every time she comes in, she's just beating former champs like Alexa Grasso, Carla Esparza, Jessica Andrade. She disappears from injuries and comes back and just, is just beating and even finishing some of the top of that the division has to offer. So in Amanda Lemos, like she's like herself, like she's getting up there. She's 38. She's only 4 years older than Tatiana Suarez. She has a lot of experience. She's been win loss, and she herself fought Weili Zhang, lost as well, unanimous. And has kind of just again been win loss through the tail of her career, and most of her wins, like the Lucendo fight that she won earlier this year, that was pretty impressive. But I think in this one, she's just gonna get out grappled by Tatiana Suarez. I think Tatiana Suarez is just overall going to win by the control time, pretty much, either by decision, and if she can find her way to get a submission, she will. 2 out of the 4 losses that Manny Lemos has is by submission, and I just think Tatiana Suarez, she's just really good technically and strong when it comes to the grappling department. When it comes to the striking as well, I think Tatiana Suarez is the slightly better striker. Amanda Lemos, phenomenal striker herself, but she does get clipped a lot as well. She absorbs 3.46 significant strikes per minute and only lands 2.89 versus Tatiana Suarez, lands 3.22 and absorbs 1.58. So, Amanda Lemos, she does throw enough to hurt her opponents for sure, and does look good on the feet, but she does risk getting hit a lot. So that's why I think Tatiana Suarez will have no problem landing shots on her and eventually just close the gap, out grapple her, and just win overall unanimously. I think she's going to dominate in every aspect of the fight game in this one. So I like Tatiana Suarez. I think she is slightly a huge favorite, but maybe the margin should be a little tighter. But that being said, I'm going with Tatiana Suarez. I'm riding high. 5 weight. Nick, do you have any thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, if I was to pick it, I'd agree with Suarez. I just don't. I didn't have enough of a strong opinion on it to make it a weight pick for me. I like Suarez, and I do think she wins, but with women's MMA, I'm always nervous. Lemos has some ability to get submissions, counter submissions. I don't know. She beat Mackenzie Dern, so I don't know. We'll see. But I would lean Suarez if I had to make a pick. I don't like it enough to weight it.
Yeah, for sure. Fair enough. Yeah, this was a well, I was not gonna talk about, but once I'm like, I like Tatiana Suarez. Like, I won't bag on her too much for losing against Weili Zhang. It's Weili Zhang, of course. So I think if it wasn't for Weili Zhang, obviously Tatiana Suarez would probably be the champ right now. So that being said, yeah, this one you like the Tatiana Suarez pick, but you don't have any weight on it. For me, I'm riding high on her as my 5 weight.
Moving on here, my 4 weight pick is going to be the feature bout Saturday afternoon. We're looking at Jared Flash Gordon versus Rafa Garcia lightweight bout. Um, you know, this is one of the last fights, if not, I think, no, okay, David Martinez fights after. I was about to say one of the last fights we'll see a Mexican on because even though it's Noche UFC, there's actually a handful of fights where a Mexican isn't even on the card, or it's like a Brazilian or something instead. So I don't know. The UFC kind of struggled a little bit to like get the whole, there's a Mexican nationality or a Spaniard or something like that on each um, fight. But either way, I'm picking Flash Gordon here to beat Rafa Garcia. I like what Flash Gordon brings to the table in terms of like kind of being all around. Flash Gordon specifically has really good striking, at least in comparison to Rafa Garcia. Flash Gordon above 5.5 strikes landed and under 4 strikes absorbed. And Rafa Garcia is actually negative in his striking differential. He absorbs, or he takes, he deals 4 and absorbs 4.5. So I'm not liking the stand-up game out of Rafa Garcia in this fight personally. I expect Jared Gordon to be able to get the job done on the feet. After all, he is coming off a first-round finish of Thiago Moises. Thiago Moises, okay, he's like 19-8 going into that fight. He's not like amazing, but Thiago Moises is a guy that I think would be a good matchup for Rafa Garcia, and he's over there getting dusted by Jared Gordon. So I wouldn't necessarily go so far as to predict a similar outcome for this fight in terms of a first-round finish, but to me, Rafa Garcia, he's coming off a win against Vince Pitchell. That's one of the oldest dudes you can fight in the UFC. Losing to Grant Dawson isn't terrible, but Clay Guida before that, one of the other oldest dudes in the UFC. Like, what are we talking about? Rafa Garcia hasn't beaten anyone under 40 years old in years. And that's just the way I see it. So from that, maybe he's better than I'm giving him credit to being. But I like Jared Gordon a lot here. I think he's got not only a little bit, and it's funny because Jared Gordon's actually the older one of the two. Rafa Garcia is over there beating on old guys. But in this case, Rafa Garcia is the younger of the two fighters here. But that doesn't matter to me because Jared Gordon's not 40 years old yet, and I think he gets the job done. What do you think, Jose?
So for this one, Nick, I do not have a pick for this one. But if I did, yeah, I would go with Jared Gordon as well. Um, as you stated before, like I think Jared Gordon, I think he's just gonna be overall better in every aspect of the game. To be honest, I did not look too much into this fight, but from everything I've always seen, like Jared Gordon, besides when he fought Paddy Pimblett, he's always like impressed me. So unfortunately, not too much to say on my end, but I do like the Jared Gordon pick.
But dude, like even on top of that, you mentioned the Patty pick. It's like he arguably was kind of beating Patty. And remember there was that eye poke thing that kind of happened. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm just saying. I think he was kind of getting it to Patty. I'm not saying he would have won the fight, but that was almost like that was close to being a Christian Rodriguez Raul Rosas moment. Just saying. Just saying that was very close. So Patty ended up getting through that, and it didn't have to happen to him then. But it almost was maybe also like one of those. It was just one of those moments where it just felt like, ooh, that's really close. Like I don't know, but Jared Gordon ended up losing that fight. They gave him the loss. So either way, I think Jared Gordon's a little bit better than some people give him credit to being. And yeah, that's all I got to say about it. Jose, oh, that's a tough spot to be frozen. I think Jose is frozen on us here. Um, I know Discord's been having some audio or server issues. It took us a minute to even go live because of Discord server issues. So I certainly hope um, those server issues aren't a reason for Jose's disconnection here. I'm gonna have to give him a second, but where were we at here? That was my 4-weight pick, anyways, and Jose did not have a pick on it. So let's see here, 5-4. So from there, we would have went to Jose's 4-weight next. I'll give him a minute here to see if he can reconnect, and then just go over my weights in the meantime. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Maybe I have to restart the call here. But in the meantime, let me give Jose a minute here. I have a couple more picks for us, regardless of whether Jose is able to rejoin us or not. Yeah, maybe I need to just quickly try calling again. Give me one moment. pleasant look. Give me one moment, please. Oh, okay, Brett. Let me mute that for you guys. You do not need to be hearing Discords. Jose, I believe, will be joining us here momentarily. So in the meantime, I'm going to continue forward with my picks. I've still got 3 picks for you guys, and we haven't even gotten into the main event yet. So we definitely have to continue this. Regardless if Jose is able to show up or not, I will, of course, make sure that you at least get his picks so you know where he's at. Oh, man, this is not working out. I am not even able to get the camera up anymore. Discord's struggling right now. Discord heavily struggling. We might have to turn into an audio only show here for the rest of this. Sorry for the technical difficulties. This is a tough one. I assume most folks honestly listen to this with audio only anyways, but we like to try and get our faces in there just so it's a little bit more interactive ideally, but I cannot get this video camera to work for me here. Let's see if I can remove and add again. Yeah, it seems to be broken. Yeah, okay. That's not working. We tried our best. We sure did try our best. I'll have to continue this with audio only going forward. Apologies for the mishap here. We'll have to get a backup for Discord. We've historically just used Discord for all of our shows here, and Discord is having issues right now, and therefore we're having issues. So we'll have to find a backup. Please stand by on us getting that backup. But in the meantime, I'm going to quickly run down the rest of these picks. I appreciate anybody who has stuck around. But that said, my 3-weight, just going down the list, of course, as a recap, my 5-weight Rob Font, 4-weight Jared Gordon. My 3-weight is going to be Kelvin Gastelum against Dustin Stoltzfus. This is also, of course, on the main card. I like Kelvin Gastelum against Dustin Stoltzfus because of his stand-up game. It's kind of a similar handicap to how I gave Rob Font and David Martinez. Kelvin Gastelum's never been finished on the feet. I think it's one of those things that, as he gets older, the chances are they're likely going to improve that he does get finished on the feet. But I just don't see it being Dustin Stoltzfus here. He's coming off a loss against Nursultan Rozabayev, who is pretty solid. Nursultan is a lot more experienced, but one of those guys that I'm not convinced is that great. But I will give credit's due. Stoltzfus finished Marc-Andre Barriault. I'm very impressed by that, and I'm a fan of Andre Barriault. But Kevin Gastelum, beat D-Rod, beat Chris Curtis. His only losses lately have been Sean Brady, who arguably deserves a title shot soon, and Joe Pyfer, who's also a dog and likely to get a title shot at some point just based on how big he is and the way that he finishes his fights. Joe Pyfer's been solid lately. So that said, I kind of like where Kevin Gastelum's looking here. He's only 33, and he's still got time. One moment here. Yeah, I don't think... I'm trying to see if Discord worked here. I don't think Discord's working. Jose, I'm not sure if you're able to hear me, but Discord is not working. But yeah, that said, Kelvin Gastelum is the pick here. I think Kelvin Gastelum's able to get the job done on the feet, and even if not, he has some experience getting submission game. 6 submissions for Stoltz is 5 for Gastelum. I don't expect it to get that far unless maybe there's a knockdown of some sort. Neither of these guys are really the kind of guys to land a bunch of takedowns, although Stoltzfus does have just over 2 takedowns landed per 15 minutes, so maybe he goes that direction when he feels the heat from Gastelum. And that's one of those things that maybe that's probably Gastelum's biggest downfall here is I don't really trust Gastelum in getting up. He's kind of a big dude, only being 5'9", 185. He's kind of a bigger dude. So that said, I'm not sure how well I believe Gastelum can get up, although he is kind of a more stocky, stubby dude that is kind of harder to keep down on the ground in theory. So we'll see. But in any case, I wouldn't expect it to get that far. I think Gastelum gets the job done on the feet. That'll be by decision or KO most likely. And from there, I'll have to continue forward. Jose and I are actively trying to fix this, but I think Discord is done for today. So I'll probably just have to give the rest of Jose's picks because I am not able to hear Jose or talk with him at this point. So that said, that was my 3-weight Kelvin Gastelum. Moving on to my 2-weight pick of Saturday afternoon, we're going to go with the main event pick here. And at 2-weight, it's probably kind of hard to predict who I'm going with here, and that's the way I like it. This is a tough one. Diego Lopes and Gene Silva. I think this is super exciting as a fight. And, I mean, we all know that Diego Lopes just came off his title shot chance against Volkanovski. I thought Diego Lopes looked generally good, but still outclassed. And it's kind of where most of the critics would argue he'll continue to get outclassed is on the feet. So it's one of those things where do you believe that Gene Silva is just going to dust? And the odds believe, certainly the public I think believes that Gene Silva is going to completely dust Diego Lopes. I mean, if you look at the odds, Gene Silva's almost 3-1 as a favorite against Diego Lopes. I'm not sure how often a guy's gone from getting a title shot and losing to going directly into being a 3-1 underdog. That is very rare air there. And I don't believe Diego Lopes is justified in that negativity. So I will be taking Diego Lopes for my 2-weight. I think he is going to continue to improve. Diego Lopes he's only 30. I believe he might be turning 31 this year at the end of the year. He's not an older guy. Diego Lopes has a lot of room to grow. Each fight still, I think we continue to see him grow. And yes, he got outclassed on the feet by Volkanovski, but we all have forgotten that Volkanovski is probably the GOAT of that division. And getting outclassed by him on the feet isn't embarrassing. Gene Silva has been kind of a dog, and that's why I understand he is a favorite. I just don't know how much I think he's that big of a favorite. So it's one of those things where hold on, Jose's calling in. Yo, Jose, we're still live, but Discord's broken.
So how are you streaming to it? Oh, it's just live, but
we're live. Okay. We're live, but the audience can still hear you through my phone, I think.
Okay, I'm trying to connect. Yeah.
Discord's broken though. I'm telling you, Discord's broke.
Yeah, we're gonna find that out. Figure something out then.
Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, I'm just going through my picks and listing them out since we already conferred on them and giving quick reasons why. I obviously can't. If you want to try and give like a couple quick reasons for the picks you haven't gone over, I've only discussed mine, but I was basically actually just discussing the main event and how I'm picking Gene Silva to lose this fight against Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes is my 2-weight. I really think Gene Silva is a dog. Who doesn't? But Diego Lopes kind of getting disrespected, man. 3-1 favorite is Gene Silva against the guy who just got his title shot. I don't know, man. That's a little crazy to me. Diego Lopes doesn't deserve the disrespect. I think Diego Lopes continues to get better because he's only 30 years old. In fact, Gene Silva is barely younger than him. I think people look at Gene Silva like he's some sort of young, like he's got 20 years to go. Like, not really. These dudes are basically the same age. And Diego Lopez arguably has better experience because he's a coach and he's got more professional fights under his belt. So, for those reasons, I'm big on Diego Lopez.
So okay, so this one I was a really tough one for me, and basically I'm gonna go with Gene Silva. I wanted to go with Diego Lopez so much, and like, but I think Gene Silva is just the way they've been winning in terms of Diego Lopez. He got a title shot, and he had his moments there with Volk, which is good. But Gene Silva too, he's just a killer. Like on a, I feel like he is getting pushed a little too quick, which is which is a bit of a concern for me because we see how those dudes, how guys do when they get pushed a little too quick, and he's gonna get checked for sure. But the dude is just crazy. Like he's uh good at like finishing fights is basically what I'm trying to say. Like he's just crazy in the way he finishes them as well. Like doing the ninja choke against Bryce Mitchell, who has phenomenal grappling, and then that nasty doctor stoppage like cut he did to Drew Dober. And Drew Dober, who can stop Drew Dober? That guy keeps going. So it's just the way the methods that he's been winning. He's just wild with the punches. And the camp that he comes from, granted that both Fluffy and Kyle Bravo, they just most recently lost. But still, like it's still a phenomenal camp. We saw Carlos Pradas lose, and he came back with phenomenal fashion. So, if Gene Silva loses a fight, this will be his first fight in the UFC to lose for sure. This because Diego Lopez is no joke. Lopez, he's really had to fight super hard for his wins in terms of like he had moments besides the Brian Ortega one really, but a lot of his fights that he's won, he's had those moments where he was put like in a compromised position and he had to get himself out of it, and he almost had to like make it dirty just to get the win. And we hardly see someone like Gene Silva who is just dominating, like so calm and collective throughout the process. So that's why I'm going with Gene Silva because I think it's like that confidence, almost like Conor McGregor. It's just that confidence does carry weight into the octagon, and so that's why I got Gene Silva just because he comes from a phenomenal camp. He's a phenomenal striker, and he's definitely going to hurt Diego Lopez. But what Diego Lopez has going for him is that he's been in those compromised positions before, and he's overcome them to get wins. So it's going to be a tight one. I wanted to have this fight lower as well, but Gene Silva has just been on a tear. Like I'm not going to deny him right now, so that's why I'm going with him as my 4 weight.
Okay. All right, man. So there you go. There's Jose and I's pick on the main event. Somewhat haphazard there without the official Discord, but it is what it is. We adjust and adapt in real time here, but we will disagree on the main event. I'm taking a 2-weight on Diego Lopez. Jose's got a 4-weight on Gene Silva, and it's a fight where even though I've got a 2-weight pick on Lopez, I wouldn't even touch it with a mile long stick. I think it's just a fight where you just enjoy it, man. Silva could come in going crazy from the start, or Lopez could kind of hold him at bay and decisively get like I guess it would be 25-minute decision, or maybe he gets a submission or something against Silva. Who knows?
Yeah. I'm excited about this one. Like, I almost didn't want to put a weight on it, but it's the main event. You have to.
Yeah, I feel that. Like, I try to, and even if it's a lower weight, so just so we can get because it's the main event. Like, I want to talk about it, and I guess if it comes down to it, like we could make an exception for the main event, even if neither of us put a weight on it. We could still discuss the fight and just be like, this is why I didn't put a weight on it. But yeah, I think for basically all of our shows so far, we've had a weight on the main event. And yeah, that said, I've basically covered all of my fights for the moments you were gone, Jose. I didn't cover any of yours, though. I did cover the fact that I picked Gastelum, and I know you agree on that. So I don't know if you want to add in any notes, but I'm sure we pretty much agreed on most of what I already said.
Yeah, honestly, needless to say, I'm going with Kevin Gastelum. Reason being is like, when he shows up, he's on fire. He always looks good. Dustin Solstice honestly could beat him. I have Kevin Gastelum as my 2-weight, just because it depends what version of Kevin Gastelum we're gonna get. And last time I remember, he showed up game ready. Like I forgot why his fight got canceled last time, but it wasn't because of him, if I recall. But I know they've had to cancel fights because he's missed weight in the past before. So, honestly, he's just a really talented, overall, well-rounded fighter. He should get this win. I could even see him finishing Dustin Solstice. So, whatever what you said, I'm sure we agree on a lot. So not much to say there, but I got Kelvin Gastelum as my 2 weight, and then that only leaves me one more fight. And I'll keep it short too. It's the lightweight bout between Alexander Hernandez and Diego Ferreira, and as we saw, both guys like have competed competed pretty recently, and are obviously active fighters. And Alex Hernandez, in my opinion, he's kind of like I don't want to say rebranding himself, but he's definitely fixing the gaps that he was missing before. Like he was a big prospect coming in for a while, and then he was kind of he got like checked by Donald Cerrone, and since then he's been on a win loss, and he's definitely lost some fights that he should have won. But it's just the name of the game, and a fight against Diego Ferreira is one that he should win. Diego Ferreira is 40 years old; he's getting up there. He only has a 2-inch reach over Alex Hernandez, but Alex Hernandez is just a powerful wrestler. He's going to press forward. He's going to come at you, and he's going to throw heavy haymakers. Similar to Aaron Pico, I just hope he doesn't get knocked out like Aaron Pico. I hope he does the knocking out instead, but he has a very similar style to Aaron Pico, to be honest. He's going to come in, throw heavy haymakers to the body, and look for a knockout punch as well. And if not, he's going to look to take you down, and I think he's just going to, I don't want to say ragdoll Diego Ferreira, but he's definitely going to I think get most of the control time. And I don't know if you can pull up the stats on it, but I'm assuming Aaron Hernandez. I mean the odds on it, but I'm assuming Aaron Hernandez is the betting favorite in this matchup against Diego Ferreira. I don't have that unfortunately in front of me right now.
I don't either. I would assume so as well. Actually, I don't think I found it on FanDuel when I was looking. I don't know if it was too recent of a creation there, but it is not currently listed as far as I see on FanDuel. So yeah, it's just one of those weird ones that I don't exactly know. I know according to Tapology that Hernandez is a minus 160 favorite. I think that's what opens. And Ferro was a plus 125 dog. So Hernandez is a slight favorite no matter which way you're going to look at it. And yeah, I didn't discuss that one. That was actually since that was my one weight, that was the only one I didn't get to. And yeah, I do agree on Hernandez. You know, basically for all the same reasons. I think Ferreira is a great UFC guy. Like Ferreira's almost like one of those forgotten guys because he's got a whole bunch of fight like performance of the night bonuses and stuff. You know, going back to 2020, even like 2014, he's got a couple performance bonuses in a row. Back to what you were saying about how he kind of got beat up by Dariush Poirier, and then all of a sudden he goes on another win streak. But either way, Ferreira's kind of closing off a UFC career that I think was pretty long and successful, just outside the fact that he wasn't a champ.
Yeah, right on the head. So I think this is a good matchup for Alexander Hernandez, just younger guy too. So he still has some time to make a run in this division again, live up to that. He's only 32 years old, and I think he can make a run again and get back to being like a top 10 guy, even, to be honest. It's open for him to do so. And if he gets this, I can see him being ranked again, gain a fourth win in a row. So, but yeah, that being said, not much else to say. I like Alexander the Great Hernandez for, again, like his power, KO power, and also his wrestling ability. So I think that's truly going to dominate this one. So that being said, I got Alex Hernandez as my 3-weight.
I do think, though, it will take time. Like, I don't by any means think this is enough for him to be ranked just by winning this fight. No way, dude. It's too much. Like, we're talking the lightweight division, dude. It's too many killers. There's just too many killers.
Like, I think at least break it to the top 15. At least maybe be 15 or 14.
Like, that's where Michael Chandler's ranked, though. You think Michael Chandler's worse?
You can argue today. Honestly, if
That's
Alex wins this, if Michael Chandler
dude.
actually,
I don't think. Dude, am I crazy? I don't think that guy's anywhere near as good as Michael Chandler just because he beat Diego Ferreira, right?
Maybe. But it's just like the build up though. Like he's racking up 4 wins, so with it, his confidence and his skill set should be getting better. And I think Michael Chandler is just less active, and his skills I feel like are kind of depleting. So if it was a prime Michael Chandler, 100% prime Michael Chandler, even the Michael Chandler that entered the UFC, and even the one that lost to Justin Gaethje, that Michael Chandler out out you know beats up Alexander Hernandez crazy. Like, but I think now like it's like where Alexander's kind of on a trajectory of going up.
Okay, we'll have to agree to disagree on that, dude. I don't think if you fought, I think if you fought Alexander Hernandez and Michael Chandler next year, Michael Chandler would still win. But that's just my opinion.
I mean,
and
I
a
would
lot
like
will
to
change.
see that. I would like because if Michael Chandler is ranked that low too, then that and Alex Hernandez does win this. That does put him in a spot to be a couple fights away from fighting Michael Chandler, but
Oh,
it
yeah.
depends because I feel like Michael Chandler is gonna give him big names. So
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
so yeah, that would be a fun matchup to see eventually. But and if Michael Chandler wins, good because I actually want him to get a win. I don't want him to be one of those dudes that just came to the UFC and had a C run. You know,
Yeah.
like he had exciting fights, but it's a shame. Like exciting fights at what expense? You're not getting wins. You're just you're just taking damage. You just showed up to get damage, kind of like Ben Askren.
Just building a brand, dude. That's what I would do if I was a UFC fighter, man. I would just go out there and build a brand, dude. That's why you see
Give him
Conor
a show.
McGregor selling whiskey and stuff, you know.
Right, yeah.
But in any case, valuable conversation. Appreciate you calling in here. I think that's a wraps for the show. I'm sick and tired of holding my phone here, so we're gonna call the show here. But thanks to everybody who did hang in through these technical difficulties. Appreciate it. Discord can suck it. We'll find another way to operate when Discord doesn't work going forward. But thanks again, of course. Return for us next week. We're gonna have some cards coming up. I think we have a week off towards the end of September, but I believe we have a card at least going through next Saturday. So stay tuned.